to follow what the Kathy Macho,
Here.
Jerry Melky,
Here.
Tom Graham here, Wendy Reed.
Yes.
We do have a quorum.
Any citizen comment on the consent agenda?
No. Item's not on the agenda.
First. I mean, let's talk about it. It's not on the agenda. There's a time to do it.
Tom Marine Kenny online has her hand up.
Okay.
Hi, good evening. This is Maureen Kenny, 134 West Bay Street. Am I allowed to do citizen comments right now, not related to the agenda?
Right.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. My public comments are usually surrounding finances, governance, or policies and procedures. This comment falls in the policy category. At the April 21st City Council meeting, City Council went into closed session at 10 p.m. at night and lasted until 11 p.m. to discuss the performance review of the city manager. The Open Meetings Act requires that if you go into a closed session, you need to return back to the public and announce an outcome. The two questions I have: was the city attorney present at this closed session, as this review is a requirement of the city manager's employment contract? And secondly, did the performance review get completed, and what was the outcome? City Council, I don't know if you can answer the questions or if this is something that the city attorney could answer for me. Thanks.
You want me to answer that?
You can, Jim, go ahead.
Yes, I was not present at that meeting. I was, well, I'm not sure exactly where I was, but I was not at that meeting that evening. My understanding is that no action was taken or considered as a result of that meeting. And my understanding is, because I was not there, my understanding is that when the council returned to open session, it took no action.
I think everybody was gone. You ladies agree with that?
That's correct.
Any other comments from anybody? You don't disappoint us.
No. Good afternoon, good evening. Karen Offield, West Traverse Township. It's taken time to get here and it hasn't been easy, but we're here now and that matters. Over the past months, we've had a real debate, not just about zoning, but about how decisions that shape our community get made. It brought emotion, it tested relationships, but it came from a place of care for our homes, our neighbors, and our future. Let's be honest, the timing wasn't always right. Some things moved too fast, but our intent never wavered. This wasn't about disruption. It was about making sure change didn't happen in silence. It's not that we lacked trust or believed anyone acted in bad faith. We simply knew that trust alone isn't enough. We wanted clear communication, accountability. We demanded transparency because trust without conversation isn't enough for decisions of this scale. That's not obstruction, that's participation. And when property rights are on the line, silence is not an option. This effort took time, energy, and real resources, all raised locally across our 1.3 square mile city and surrounding townships. People stepped up to support. People followed us, not because we had all the answers, but because they knew getting zoning right matters. As Jamie Milky said in her Harbor Light political promise, we may not always agree, but we must treat each other with respect. Harbor Springs needs everyone, families, workers, resorters, visitors to thrive. We must be community-minded and value people from all walks of life. Since February 8th, 2024, 494 days ago, when I first heard the wetlands might be disturbed with a new bridge, I've stayed involved. And let me be clear, our concern wasn't with the people or volunteers, it was with the rush to change zoning before the broader community understood it. This isn't about sides, it's about how we move forward together. So tonight, we invite City Hall, the council, Linda's friends and colleagues, our clubs, coffee groups, churches, students, seniors, everyone to stay at the table. This new campaign is about building a symbolic bridge, a safe and open path between full-time residents and property owners. We want to preserve generosity and encourage gifting generously in time, spirit, and energy. Tonight, we're asking for a pledge to support that effort. Linda and I are asking the community to keep building because we rise only when we rise together. Like bread rising in the oven, it takes the right mix of people, time, and care. Thank you.
Enough. Hear the echo?
Wasn't that? Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Linda Rockwitz, 519 East 3rd Street. Karen and I have met and talked about all of our differences and our agreements over these many months. And both of us believe that we will all rise together or perish together. We spent a lot of time last summer campaigning against one another on the sides of the zoning repeal. I chaired the vote no committee. The vote yes committee won. The vote was, the ordinance 439 was repealed. And I accept that. And so did the planning commission, and they started in re-upping in the winter, and it has gone very, very well. All comments from everybody who has an interest in Harbor Springs have been considered, heard and considered. The discussions have been open and free flowing and lengthy. Sometimes the meetings are 3 hours long, but everyone has had a chance to get involved. So we hope that we don't spend this summer trying on choosing sides, and we hope we can all go forward together in some way.
Thank you. Anyone else? I don't know anything about this voter discussion. You do, don't you?
We gotta do a quick approval of the agenda, and then after that, a quick motion on the consent agenda. And then we'll get into the fun stuff with boy toys.
I would like to add, probably just to the consent agenda, Victor had sent us a resolution dedicating July as Parks and Recreation Month. So I'd like to add that to the consent agenda.
Very good.
And I'd like to remove banking investment account resolution to a discussion item.
I would like to, I want to give you time to write, Nick. I would like to add another item to the agenda. I would like the council to have some discussion, not necessarily a determination, but discussion, establishing a process for appointing a new city council person, how we want to proceed, depending on the number of, I think there are a lot of issues, having the number of applicants, whether we need to have a public, maybe not an interview, but a public statement by the people that are interested. Anyway, I'd like to ask if we could put that on the agenda.
Sure.
So with that being said, we will add the Parks and Recreation resolution to the agenda, remove the banking resolution to a discussion item, and add to a discussion item the path going forward for appointing a new council member. That being said, with those amendments made, we'd entertain a motion to approve the amended
I
agenda.
would make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 So we've approved the agenda. The next one would be approve what is left of the consent agenda, which would be the June 2nd meeting minutes, the current bills, the application for the Wiener Dog race event, Holy Childhood Corpus Christi processional, removing the banking investment resolution, and adding the Parks and Recreation resolution. Then I would need a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I'll make that motion.
Can I ask one question about the Holy Childhood processional? Do you have an estimate of how many people? Probably 100 to 150 people. I'll second.
Kathy Macho,
Yes.
Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Wendy Reeve,
Yes.
Tom Graham.
Yes.
Motion carried. All right, Mayor, we have now on the agenda for the discussion item, the loader bid selection, the Parks and Recreation resolution, and the banking investment account. Which one would be the most exciting?
The Parks
Parks.
was consent agenda.
Oh, the Parks one, on the consent agenda, yes. So loader bid selection and the banking investment. And the discussion on
The path going forward.
path going forward with council.
Let's talk about the loader.
The new choice, right?
What's that?
New choice for you?
Yeah, so with the loader bid selection, tonight, we had budgeted 225,000 for a new loader. Our current situation right now is we have two front end loaders that we use pretty much on a daily basis. Especially in the winter time, it's how we clear all of Main Street and the central business district area. As opposed to how we used to do it, the plow trucks only, and now we use two front end loaders to try to diminish the amount of snow that's left on the walks, so there's less in the way. The loader that we're looking to replace is a 2005 Komatsu WA 200. The specs that I sent out for bids were the same specs that we put out in 2005 and then 2011. We had 3 out of 4 companies respond with bids. John Deere, Case did not return a bid, and then also Komatsu. That being said, the Komatsu was the one that did meet and qualify for all the specifications that were listed, which makes sense because the specs were based on what we used in 2005 and 2011. So that is the only machine that met all of the specs. They were fairly comparable, but that is definitely the one that fit the best. And it is my recommendation to go with another Komatsu. We currently have 2 and they've served us very well. The price was a little bit higher than the other 2 that were spec'd out. However, the Komatsu did come with it's a 3-year service agreement that comes with it. So they actually come here to our garage and they change all the fluid, all the filters, do any diagnostics for a full 3 years. So they estimate the value that's probably around $6,000. which is very helpful that you get a lot of the stuff done there. And if there's any issues, they come here free of charge for that first 3 years for any issues that we have. And like I said, we've been very, very happy with the 2 that we have, so it does make sense to me to move forward with that item. I also did put in a recommendation to add in a new snow box, which is the big wide rectangle thing that attaches to the front that we push the snow with out of the parking lot to Main Street. As well as a stock bucket. The stock bucket is just a regular bucket that you would see on the front end loader for moving materials or stock around. This loader was spec'd out with a 4-way bucket, which is what we refer to as the clam bucket, which you'll see the guys going out and they'll actually pinch up all the brush. So it was spec'd out to come with the 4-way. But I did include in my recommendation to also get the stock bucket that doesn't have the 4-way function. That's my recommendation. Is there any questions that anyone has?
So you're 2 buckets then, right?
Yes.
Clamshell and then the other one.
Yep, and then a standard bucket.
When you have delivery of it.
The delivery in the bid, I believe it said 90 days. I do see that Dan Novak, who is from AIS, who did the specs and the bid on that machine, is online if you have any real detailed questions. So we would have it before winter time.
Is there any particular spec that you said the specs, you preferred the specs in the Komatsu? Was there anything in particular that the other ones didn't have that did?
The most important specs on a machine that size for what we do with it, since we do a lot of loading, and when we load into the trucks, it's when the bucket is at full height. So you'll see there's a spec in there, and it's the tipping load when you can either go straight or add a 45. That would be the most important one. That is just shows that it's the most stable. The higher that number, the more weight you can have in the bucket at a turn and still use it without a risk of it tipping over. So that one is very important. They all kind of are. That's why they have them as standard specs. But you know, another one would be horsepower. They're all really close in horsepower, but a machine that size, well, it seems small, it's 128 horsepower, 125 horsepower. Doesn't seem like that much, but it really does. You want to have a machine that's capable, and we do know that these machines are. So
Thank you.
We have to keep you happy, right?
yeah. Please.
Any other questions from anybody here?
There's a comment on Zoom.
Tim B.
Hello?
Hi, you're on. We can hear you.
Okay, this is Becky Backus, 500 West Summit Street. My question or statement, I guess, about this front end loader is that at Komatsu, I understand you spec'd it off the current machine that you have, but Komatsu is a Japanese company, so all profits go back to Japan. I know it is assembled in the United States, but profit goes back to them. John Deere, who you said the tipping capacity was important to you, meets your requirement. I guess I don't know how important your dump clearance at 45 degrees is, where it's, you know, you're off a degree or a foot, 1 foot, couple inches. And your bucket breakout force, is it, you know, is 19,000 pounds adequate is I'm assuming John Deere knows what you guys use these loaders for. They're not gonna build a machine that nobody can use. So that's my comment. And really, this $5,800 service program that comes with the Komatsu, you know, if you ask Deere if they would, you know, meet that also, they might do that. And it's still a lower price machine. And it's American. The profit stays in America. And in this global world, I understand all that. It's still, where does the money go? That's it.
Yeah, I can respond to at least one portion of that for sure. The pin height at a 45-degree for the bucket is also a very important number, because like the trucks that we load to haul snow, like we actually load into a truck that is, the side of it is over 10 feet tall. So we need that extra height in where that measurement is, where the pin is on the bucket. So at a 45-degree, that's when the material in a bucket will slide out and into the back of a machine. So the higher up, it does make a big difference when you're trying to load our dump trucks to haul the snow. That is another critical thing. And the second thing to address there is all the manufacturers that I asked for a bid, they all at their option have a choice to bid the machine that they feels best fits the specs. They could have went smaller, they could have went slightly bigger. On the John Deere and on the Cat, they both chose to do a smaller unit versus a bigger unit. So that also is potentially why the prices are a little bit less. If they would have bid a machine that did meet those specs, it likely would have been substantially more. So that's also how the manufacturers and the sales reps can use that bid. They had a choice to bid a machine that fit and met all the specifications. They chose not to.
Doesn't make it too sympathetic to them. Any other comments? Yes, Gary.
Just a quick question, and thanks for taking this on. It just, when we get to $250,000 plus, people get a little bit, which is understandable because we want you to spend their money wisely. Was there a big difference, or do you know if they went a little bit higher to the bigger capacity? Was it that much more? And what's the longevity? How long will the WA-208 last?
Sure. I'm not privy to the numbers for the other machines since they didn't send me the bigger machine numbers, which I could only get from them, including the municipal discounts and different things we get. So I don't know that exact number. As far as the longevity, I feel that any of them would last a very long time. Currently, we have a WA-200 that is 20 years old. It's a 2005, and AIS is willing to, if we choose, to trade it in for $39,000. So we'll get that, which would be, that is included in that lower price of the 227 if we took the bid or the trade in. Now, when we bought that machine in 2005, it cost $98,000. So 20 years later, they're offering us 39. I think that is a fairly good example of how it maintain. I mean, we maintain it well. Also, it's not falling apart, but I think that's just shows that it is a good machine that will, it holds its value at that point when we're getting almost half of what we paid for it back 20 years later.
Thank you.
Lucas, did any of the others other than Komatsu, did they say no, they didn't provide any kind of a service?
No, they all would. I didn't include that in the specs to have the service prices listed, but I also didn't know that it came with Komatsu. So that was just had I known that it was coming with one, I would have asked for the price on all of them. I just didn't know that it was included. So
Do all three that we will end up owning, are they all have the same capabilities?
they're all very, very close, yes. So the specs that I used to bid out this loader were based on the specs that we used in 2005. So there might be a slight number of horsepower or something like that that would be slightly different. Like the 05 might be 124 horsepower or 123, something like that. But that's relatively, it's very, very comparable.
If we went back to John Deere and asked them if they could meet those other specs and give us a price, or that they just don't make that model?
It would be a different model, so you could sub out an engine to increase the horsepower. You would actually have to go up to the next size machine in order to meet those specifications.
But, I mean, Becca brings up a good point. It is an American product. If we went back to them and said, you're losing out because of these two things, what can you do to fix it?
We could definitely ask. They might come back with a machine that is significantly larger in size as well, which.
Right, but the price. It comes down to, we'd like to buy American.
Yeah, we can get prices.
How long did that take?
That I don't know. I don't know if Dan might be able to answer that question if he's available to answer on Zoom. You there, Dan?
I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yep.
Yes, Dan, we can hear you.
Hello, thank you for taking the time, and I appreciate all the questions that they came with this. I represent AIS, and just for your knowledge, AIS does represent both the John Deere and Komatsu brands. I also, my position, I'm governmental sales for 20 counties in northern Michigan. So everything that was presented by your DPW manager is correct. So essentially, each manufacturer is made in US. Correct, Komatsu is Japanese, and John Deere is US. So it's not incorrect to perceive that the final profits would go to Japan as opposed to US. I will point out the fact that John Deere is a publicly traded company, so those profits go back to shareholders, whether they are Americans or not. I am very proud of a John Deere brand because, as I said, both of those machines are represented by AIS, and that was exactly the point that he pointed out, that we do have a larger machine. So does any competitor that's out there. But with the larger machine, you jump about 10% of size and you jump about 10% of price. The bidding process is tricky because now, and I would be speaking for everybody who bid it, whether it's Caterpillar, John Deere, or Komatsu, the numbers are now public knowledge. And I don't think that it's right to go back to any of the manufacturers and ask, hey, can you do this? Can you match this? I think that is not a proper bidding process, even though I understand the notion behind it of getting the best price for Harbor Springs. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Any other questions for Dan?
No.
Thanks, Dan.
I would add to it that your Emmett County DPW Recycling Center has also Komatsu back to back. I'm very proud to represent John Deere as well as Komatsu. Those are two different beasts. For simple, description, imagine that you're driving automatic car and stick shift. There's no one better than the other, but they are two different animals, if you will. And when we had the discussion over the bidding process, your guys are used to certain type of machine, hence continuity is something that I would refer back to your DPW guys. The continuity and safety is probably paradigm.
Thanks, Dan.
Anything else from the board here? Do you want to make a motion to approve or reject or delay till we have more information?
I would make a motion to accept the recommended bid for the Komatsu WA 208 model.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded.
Do a roll call.
Sure.
Can
Jamie
Can I-
Melky,
We
go ahead.
Want to
I'm
discuss
sorry.
anything? Go ahead.
comment, I just wanted to ask, maybe I don't. Sorry.
Mine is the second thing to go there.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Okay, the recommendation, I guess my concern is if we don't go with this recommendation and we go back and get more bids, is this a time issue for you in the winter? For this winter or not?
No, we have the two machines already. I think that with what Dan said, that it would, the next size up is gonna be 10% or more. It's gonna put the next size up John Deere at 10,000 plus over what the Komatsu is. At 20% at 200.
Okay. Thank you. That's my only question.
I do have a motion, I do have a second, I'll do a roll call. Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Wendy Reeve,
Yes.
and Kathy Macho.
Yes,
Motion carried.
Thank you, Lucas.
you.
Is there a city manager's report?
Banking, we gotta do the other discussion.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, do you want to do we have a couple things that were moved to the discussion items. We have a banking resolution that has to be discussed and the resolution for the Parks and Recreation.
No, that one.
Path forward.
The path forward on replacing the FD spot.
Right, so. Banking resolution.
Good, whatever you guys decide.
I see you're going with the same person, just in a different bank. You're gonna follow this lady to another bank?
Well, yes and no, not just for that simple fact. This lady has been working with the city for almost 30 years and gone from bank to bank. Obviously, we don't just follow a person. So when I realized that the bank that we had money with for many years had been bought out by another bank, did a little research, and it's a very unknown bank. Some of the ratings are good, some are not. So she reached out to me and moved on to this credit union. And I did the research, met with her, and their ratings are much better and their interest rates are much better. That's the only reason, and the reason that we are looking at banking institutions outside of the city limits. FDIC insurance, we try to spread money across the board so that there's coverage. And frankly, there are just not enough banks in town. So I have money in different institutions all over the country. And they have been
a lot of money.
for decades. I mean, we have a Michigan Class, which is another banking situation for governments, and the lady Carrie Micah has been in the business of municipal finance on the banking side of things for almost 40 years. So, I mean, any other questions? I mean, I can come back with this for, it's not something that has to be done right today, but I'm more interested in picking up some more interest than I am losing it. Go ahead.
So I have an ex-banker who's working for me. So our discussion today was credit unions are not as highly regulated as banks, and they're not as insured as banks. They're not FDIC assured.
They're NIC, there's another term for it, and I always run this by our auditors, these kind of transactions or stuff. To make sure that, okay. There was discussion of moving some money to, say, credit unions. And this bank and many others, credit unions included. And NICU, National Institute of Credit Unions, or something like that. And as far as I've been told and read, that they now are in the same league as credit unions or as banks, as far as insurance.
The NIC as compared to the FDIC.
The same type of coverage. I mean, that's certainly something that I can look into again and get some documentation if you'd like, that's fine.
How much of a percentage of the money will we be giving them?
It's not all of our money by any stretch of the
Right.
imagination. I think it's $2.5 million that's been sitting in the state bank for, I don't know, half a dozen years, and then it got bought out by Choice Bank. So that whole amount would go to this credit union
And what percentage is that?
of our total money. Probably 20. We have 3 million down, 3 million in investments at First Community, plus our regular checking account, which we're from $500,000 to $1.5 million at First Community as well.
Any other discussion from anyone? Seems like with the track record you had with this gal, it's the way to go.
But she's proven her trust to the city over probably since before I was in high school.
10 years ago.
So I think the only question left is how does NICU compare to FDIC? And
The question of coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can table this.
Yeah, I did Google it, just want me to read what Google said.
You can read it.
It said, credit union deposit are insured by the National Credit Union Share Insurance Fund, a federal agency that provides deposits insurance similar to the FDIC for banks.
You give the amount?
It doesn't say the, up to 250,000 per depositor. That's what that's what they say, that's what AI said.
Okay, you know about those things, Chief.
And it depends on the type of account being deposited as well.
There's a comment on Zoom.
Margaret's iPad.
Yeah, Maggie Lacey, 315 East 3rd Street. There's a lot of things that are happening right now that's going through, like the Genius Act, that are impacting banks and so forth. And so I would just make sure that we are looking at different banks that actually can carry us through. And, you know, we have Chase that's here locally. So to go downstate for somebody because we're following them, I would want to know, are they understanding what Basel III is? Are they understanding what the stablecoin act's taking place? I mean, there's some big changes that are taking place financially. And I would want to make sure that they are really on top of the game of some of these transitions that are taking place right now. And that's going through the Senate and the House. So if they're not aware of these things, then I don't know why we would make changes, or we would go with someone like Chase that might be on top of what is taking place with these changes that are happening logistically in the bigger picture of things. So that would be my only recommendation before we make some big changes. And one, if we have $2.5 million, the 250,000 is not going to cover us. So do we go with multiple different banks? Might be another way to look at this. So I would kind of go deep in looking into our homework around this. And this again is why we should have a financial panel that looks at this versus not having just one or two reviewing this information. We have a lot of smart people in here that know what's going on in this town, big picture. And I, again, would want to have a financial panel to move forward. Thank you.
You know what, I'm actually okay with that. If the council's direction is to have a financial panel, that's fine with me. The resolution is simply to authorize. If we decide or council decides not to go down that path, that's fine with me. As far as spreading the city funds, $250,000 at a clip across banks all over the country. Okay, so we meet the insurance. There's more to it than just a $250,000 insurance. There's a lot more to the whole insurance for bank depositories. As far as to comment on Ms. Lacy's comment about Chase Bank, we've had money with Chase Bank. Their rates are terrible. They're not competitive and their service sucks. Okay, I'll put that in the minutes. The bank, the credit union I'm looking at has been around for 95 years, just like First Community. But again, I mean, this is a council decision, not mine. This is something that I am putting to you as, I think this is a good idea, but if we want to do a financial panel, you know, a group, then I'm okay with that as well.
I think we have enough committees now.
I will make a motion to accept the resolution to open an investment account with Community Choice Credit Union.
I'll second that.
I'll do a roll call on this. Kathy Macho,
Yes.
Wendy Reeve,
No.
Tom Graham,
Yes.
and Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Motion carried. All right, the next thing, Mr. Mayor, if I can get this right for the fourth time. Let's talk about the direction. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Kathy.
Okay, yes. So my concern is that the council needs to discuss a process for how we choose a city council person. I'm not suggesting any particular process at this moment. I just want to make some suggestions and be sure we're thinking about this. We don't know how many people will apply. I would hate to have a list of 10 or 20 people and not have any. I'd like us to decide on some way that if we had that we could narrow down the number of.
Have you read in our code?
It's
Does address that.
It's entirely within your discretion.
it's within the discretion of the council, and I just thought we should. It says council appoints, but doesn't say how council goes about that deliberation.
Okay.
And that's what I'm getting at is, can we discuss and agree on some kind of a process to narrow down the number of applicants so we each have our top so many?
I would like to, I agree with you, and I think that it would be nice if we could have a discussion prior to anyone making a motion. The method of how we appoint boards and commissions, I think, is very baby poor, where we just make a motion and we don't have any discussion. But I think that appointing a fifth council person is a lot different than a board and commission. A lot of those boards and commissions don't have actual say, I mean, they're just advisory. This is a lot bigger than that. So I really do think that we need to have a discussion as to who is the best person to represent the city for the next 5 months or whatever it might be.
I expect them probably to run for reelection too, at least I would.
I don't think that's up to us, though. I think that the voters are going to decide who they want to select in November, and right now we just have to pick who is best to fill this position for the 7 meetings that are left.
Well, why don't we just have a meeting after all of the applications are in?
We are.
Answer that question.
And I guess I think that's a good possibility. What I don't know is, it would have to be a public meeting where we discuss the process.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We have a meeting scheduled for July 2nd to pick the person, and I think that at that time we can discuss it, but I would like to just make sure that it's a discussion and not somebody makes a motion and we go through the yes and no votes like we've done in the past.
Does that seem like a reasonable approach? We've done that for boards and commissions sometimes in the past, I
So,
believe.
I wasn't quite sure what you were proposing. Are you proposing just having a discussion at the July 2 meeting? Or are you having another meeting before that?
Just a discussion at the July 2nd meeting.
Have a discussion about the process?
Or could we have the discussion now about the process?
I mean, we are.
We are. That's where I wanted us to be in some kind of agreement that we could narrow down the number of candidates, that we could all maybe put in who are my top 5 or my top 3 and collect the data that way, potentially ask each person of, let's say there's 20 applicants, I doubt, but, and want to select the top 5. Would we want to ask, the top 5, make a 3-minute presentation?
I think we could just say that anyone that puts their name in, if they want to show up to that meeting, that they will have an opportunity to speak and tell why they would be the best person.
Okay. As Jamie said, my concern is the same, that I don't want us to go through the kind of process that we did in December for the boards and commissions.
Okay.
I feel like we need to come up with just a better method for narrowing down the pool, or that's what I want to say, or evaluating.
By the 2nd, we'll have hopefully some people interested.
I believe there's some applications already, and the deadline is June 26th, I believe.
26, and I believe at this point, we have somewhere between 6 and 10.
Is that right? Good.
But don't quote me on that, Victor's got most of them, but the few that I've had handed to me, I mean, I think there's 6 to 10 of them at this point. There are different ways that I've thought about this as well. Okay, once you as council members have been given the list with the applications, I don't know, some sort of scoring thing or just, here's your first 3 or 4 2 or whatever, and kind of cross-reference or, to see if, okay, here's a candidate that sticks out across the board.
I need more women in this part.
Lisa Nichols, 638 West Park Drive. I also think when you get the applications and you see the names, if there's someone that you don't know or doesn't ring a bell, it would be really nice if you guys might individually, you could reach out and maybe meet that person, and kind of get a feel for them, individually, like to know. And that's the same with the boards. When you have 30 some names and you're like, oh yeah. So yes, they could give a 3-minute presentation would be nice, but also if there was really someone that you don't know anything about, because I think the criteria was pretty open, that you might want to meet with them or reach out or something just to know who that person is.
We should definitely show.
Put a name to a face.
Yes, Gary.
Karen Dopping in Houston Road, just to follow on her comments, planning is so electric, I don't know what the word is, but the planning commission has, as we've lived in this past 2 years, it gets a lot of attention. I think one thing that would be very much appreciated is if we could choose someone who has not been on planning or city council before. We seem to be in a cycle of we throw the same people, and it's, I think, to follow her comment, fresh blood, someone who meets the criteria, but can offer a different perspective, would probably be valuable.
I also think that there is a little bit of a learning curve once you get into this position, and I think that when you only have seven meetings to attend, that maybe that's not enough of time for somebody that has never been on a board to really, or that doesn't attend meetings to really understand how things work and what's going on. So I don't know that I would use that. But people are more than welcome to apply in November, and brand new
But you
people,
have
new blood
people that have
can.
been in meetings, don't forget, they just may not have been on board, so,
Yeah.
and that you would know when you interview them.
The application will show what boards it is.
Bill Mulder, 372 West Summit, that, back to the issue of someone who is on a board. We may have an impediment to some good candidates, because if somebody's on ZBA or tree board, for instance, they might want to do the service for us of filling in for the next 4 months. They would potentially have to leave their board position on that board. And then for doing a good deed for 4 months, and they get bounced out of their position. And so is there, something that council would want to put in place that says the person would get to return back to their board position if they have to leave it for 4 months? And I don't even know how that would work.
Don't know the answer to that, but
Jim, do you have any?
Well, I think that would be, imposing kind of a condition on you all, whether I'm not sure that that's appropriate. That would be something I would be reluctant to see you adopt, because it would it would add complications to the process, I think.
yeah, they're supposed to replace Michael, not be a new position. I think we all want to wait to look at these applications, right?
Can we at least come to some consensus that we will discuss all the candidates at a meeting and have some kind of a agreed upon approach rather than just starting to nominate and go through the list?
When all applications are in, we all review, we'll be quite a ways into it, I think.
I think we can ask Victor maybe to contact anyone that has applied and encourage them to come to that meeting. In case they want to speak, or encourage them to reach out to us to have conversations, as well as we can reach out to them, but it might be nice to encourage them to reach out to us if they're serious about it. But I agree that we should discuss it and not just nominate somebody and wait till somebody gets a second.
Yes, Steve.
Couple of things to go on about the boards and commission, just like Bill said about pulling somebody from a board. We're talking for 4 months, so if that board or commission went without that person for 4 months, we wouldn't necessarily have to replace them initially. And then to get back to, I've done motions for a long time, like I know there's something to a motion. But if you have a process in place, it takes some of the gas and the politics out of it, as far as, at least if you have a process like Kathy's talking about, it takes some of the backyard chatter out. So you determine how you're gonna get to that point, what scoring system you're gonna use, and it's not just a popularity contest.
I like Nick's idea of having some sort of score sheet.
What we've done in the past is to go like that in promotions that I've been involved in, which is similar, like everybody gets 1 through 5 votes. And you all get 1 through 5 votes, and then whoever has the lowest amount of points is that person. And that way it's sort of weighted, everybody gets their 1 through 5. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But like, let's say you think that I should be the person, you think that Chip should be the person, so you put us both at 1, and you go 1 through 3 or 1 through 5. That way, at least it's a fair system. And whoever has the lowest score, that's the person, and it doesn't take somebody's like, I like that person's last, I'm gonna vote for that person. It equals out. I'm just throwing it out there.
Thank you, Chief.
I like that idea.
You're a supervisor, right?
I'll see you when I said
I actually think that's a good idea for each of us to come up with a ranking of our. But
Can-
we can decide this on the second one.
Can you,
So, yes.
I mean, I think that we would have to go into the second having already that score sheet. So I don't know if you can work with Victor or Nick and like help develop a score sheet that we can use.
Sure, I mean, I will be glad, I don't want to, I'll be
Yeah.
glad to help, I'll be glad to help. I think it just takes, the transparency is a problem.
Yeah.
And this is very transparent upfront. This is what we're gonna do, this is how we're gonna score you, and all 4 of you get an opinion.
Yeah. That's great.
I think we could work on that and figure out some way to, when we
Okay.
give out the applications that we received by whatever date.
Doesn't look like you have a top 5, if you already got 8 or 10 up.
Right, here's a score sheet of some fashion we'll come up with, and then you guys can take it from there.
Awesome.
Right,
Thank you.
I agree.
Let me ask a question. So after you have your score sheets and you have a range of, I mean, are you going to actually say that the person that has the highest score is the one who's going to be, you're going to make a motion that to approve that person? Or is that just something that you all will have in front of you when you make the decision as to who to
I think we all should have all the numbers.
I think that we should all score them between the 26th and the 2nd, so that we can all have those sheets in front of us. And maybe discuss the top 3 or 5 highest scores. And not just pick the highest score, but like actually discuss the top 3 or 5.
That sounds like a good process.
Okay.
Yeah,
Are you?
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, good.
That works for me.
Yeah,
And maybe the scoring should be anonymous,
it's fine.
or
I think if we,
Yeah.
I think if we all score them and get it back to Victor or Nick, they can compile the scores and get it back to us without knowing which one of us voted in what way.
I don't know about that because I think those are going to be public documents. They, they can be FOIA and
Right.
So I don't know that anonymity is necessarily a virtue here.
Okay.
Good point.
I think you make your choices and you live it.
That's right.
All right, it looks like we have a little bit of a path going forward on that at this point. Anything else, guys?
Just the planning commission.
We can whip out the city manager's report real quick.
We got that.
There is one. Oh,
Oh, planning commission, let's do
There's
that.
not a city manager report.
Better yet.
Lucas, you're not
Yeah, I can
recording?
make it real quick.
Yeah, it's over.
All right, it looks like we've got an opening here with Councilman Behrman's vacant seat. So we need to look at appointing somebody to the planning commission. The ex officio from the city council that would serve on that board. And I guess really that's,
It possible that we can wait until we appoint a new council person to pick?
I've had a brief discussion with Attorney Raymer, and I think that we should probably try to do this sooner than later. I don't know, thoughts, Jim?
Well, the code of ordinances, the ordinance we have in place says that the council shall appoint a replacement. It doesn't talk about deferring, it says shall, which is normally a connotation of a mandatory requirement. There is no discretion within at least the city code in terms of deferring until a later date. And I would suggest that it would be appropriate to appoint the person as soon as it's practicable, not to defer it for some future event. But to, as soon as you are ready, you should make that decision.
I'm ready, the rest.
I have a question. If, as we look at this, we tied votes, what does that, then where do we go?
Revote. Well, it's going to take some modification, it's going to take some cooperation on the council. That's
Okay.
you'll have to find one of you that at least three of you can agree with. So I would suggest we try it and see what happens.
Make a motion, we appoint Wendy to the expired term of mayor. Again, for the last 4 or 5 months or whatever.
Can we discuss, is there anyone that wants that position?
You didn't say you did.
I mean, I don't want it, but does Kathy want it? I'm just.
I was considering after you asked, I would consider serving on the planning commission. But we have to have 3 votes on whoever.
You want to be on the Wendy?
When we made the Michael's appointment, I'm the only person who challenged him for the seat and I lost. So I'm still interested in it. I have the least amount of service because I was appointed to the Sewer Authority Board, which meets once a month for 20 minutes. If you are 5 minutes late to that meeting, you will have missed 90% of the meeting.
True story.
I've been late 5 minutes, 2 times in a row. So it is not exactly tasking me.
Planning commission can't be late. There's a lot of people there, I can tell you now, girlfriend.
You may want to second my motion or make a different motion.
Can I second it?
Sure.
Okay, I'll second.
I think according to the Robert's Rules of Order, the person being nominated cannot second.
I don't know.
Can they vote?
I believe, I'm not positive, you could look it up, but I think you can nominate yourself, but you can't second your own nomination.
Correct.
Well, in that case, then I'll nominate myself.
Everybody gets to vote.
I guess my concern is that if we appoint somebody today, it could discourage people from applying to fill Michael's seat on council. Because if they're already on the planning commission, they would lose their seat because we can't remove somebody today and that's my only concern. And I don't know if there's anybody that has applied or anybody that is interested, but the planning commission has a lot going on and I just am concerned that we have somebody there that is up to date on everything and knows what is going on.
You think waiting will solve that problem?
I mean, if they're already on, if some of the people that are applying are already on planning commission, then they could be the planning commission representative as well.
I think they're different positions.
I guess I have a clarifying question. Jim, maybe you can answer this. When a new person is brought onto city council, they would need to participate on some board. Would we reopen for discussion, board appointments at the time that a new member is appointed? Or not?
And that's why I don't know if it makes sense to appoint somebody today when we don't know.
It's good to me to do business and get it over with. You can wait all year.
I think to answer Jeff's question without knowing the bylaws of every board and commission, if every board and commission had a full vote of members, regardless of comings and goings of council, and those terms expired on those boards and commissions, they would stay put. I mean, you wouldn't want to go into getting somebody on council and then pull people off boards and commissions before their term is even expired, just because we have one new council member.
If that was your question, I mean, composition of the boards and commissions wouldn't change simply because you had a new council person. You know, whether they're elected or appointed.
Except for in the case where if the new appointed council member was on planning commission, they would then be this position and lose their regular seat. I think that's what our concern is. Then you would have to then reappoint another planning commission seat.
That would be true.
That's my concern, and I guess that's why I would like to know if we can wait until we appoint the new council person and then choose what board they're going to be the representative on.
Bill, you have a meeting before the July 2nd.
Thursday,
This kind of years, and then be another one before the July 2nd meeting, so you'd have
I
to.
don't think so. No, I don't think so. I don't think there's well, we could decide anything Thursday night, but I would doubt people would want to meet again in 1 week.
You need more meetings, right?
Yeah, longer.
July 2nd is just 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks, over 2 weeks.
2 weeks exactly, I think.
Okay. I think you could wait 2 weeks.
I'll make a motion to that effect or something. We need to.
We have a motion on the table right now to appoint Wendy Reeve as.
No second.
No second. Do you want to amend the motion or do we withdraw the motion?
Wendy made a motion.
Yeah, but they said I can't second myself.
You can't second.
No, Tom made the motion,
And then Wendy,
but I can't take a motion from another member until he resets his motion.
I'll rescind my motion.
So now we could have another motion.
Right, so now I could make a motion for myself, Tom would second it, but then it'd still die.
We have to have a majority vote.
Okay, vote.
And I don't know, I don't know, I mean, there's actionable items on the planning commission agenda for Thursday night. And, you know, it's pretty, it says in the charter that it shall have a ex officio member from council on. I guess I don't know what the ramifications are if council does not appoint a member, if any. There may not be any.
It's supposed to.
He has a full plate, but you could always appoint the mayor.
No. Thank you.
Or not.
So it comes down to the three of us.
Ladies fight it out.
Unless there is some way that we can postpone it, but I don't know how that would look.
Can I just ask a question about Jim? What's the language about appointing a new council member? Does it also say shall, the council shall fill the vacancy? Is it the same kind of language?
Well, I haven't looked at that.
I'm just curious because they can put it off for 2 weeks to do that, so I just don't understand what the difference would be.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I don't know. I have not researched that.
I've read it dozens of times, but I don't know the exact language, whether it's shall I think it just says remaining council to appoint.
Now that mean any kind of benefits.
But it's a good point.
I feel we should take care of the new council and this planning commission member on July 2nd.
I mean, I guess.
Is that a motion or are you just giving your
I
opinion?
think,
Well, that's.
We need a motion.
I don't think we need a motion if we're not taking an action other than waiting.
Think so.
I mean, again, I'm not sure of the ramifications of any of this, but I mean, if council chooses to table something.
We sure
That's what
can.
happens.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I appreciate what your interpretation. I never have gotten the whole shall will thing, but I'm going, I do not think it's too much of a delay to ask for the 2 weeks and do both at the same time.
Consensus?
I support that. Let's make a motion to that effect.
Okay. I move that we appoint the new council person and at the July 2nd meeting and also appoint a council member to the PC at that time.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
There's only one meeting then when we don't have a council representative sitting on the planning commission.
I've got a motion and a second.
And the planning commission also, if they don't have a quorum, can't have a meeting.
Correct.
That is huge.
Correct. But I guess in this arena right now, that's a different topic altogether. So I do have a motion and a second. Wendy Reeve,
Yes.
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Tom Graham.
Yes.
Kathy Macho.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Oh, we have boards and commission.
What?
We have boards and commission reports to talk about. I'll go first. The Parks Board met last Tuesday and we discussed direction going forward with both the Kiwanis project and the events on city property. And next month, Rachel is going to bring back some information that we requested on both of those topics so that we can hopefully make some decisions or move forward.
Okay. Zoning Board of Appeals has not met since the last city council meeting,
But we will be in July
but we
9th.
will be in July.
Well, I went to a tree board meeting and Arbor Day and so forth. We had hot dogs down at Main Street there on Saturday morning, gave away a bunch of small trees. And a bunch of really nice little birch seedlings.
It was the best burned hot dogs. I liked that hot dog.
Really?
You could, thank you.
Anyway, also I was at a DDA meeting. They didn't really, they just talk about what could happen, if this happened or that happened. They were saying everybody loves the new flower pots. So. I'll see how much garbage gets thrown into them over the summer. They're at a certain level, you know.
And the sewer authority met last Thursday and most of our meeting was about the employee who died in an accident and is 5 months shy of being fully vested with his pension. And how to cover his health care for his family.
Tough deal there.
Yeah. The young man with 2 kids. That was his story.
You got electrocuted.
Yeah.
Well, no other business, let's be adjourned then.
Let's be adjourned.